Okay, so let's get back to it so we can get this done. So now we're going to go over management responsibilities of the sponsor. So you have the general responsibilities, the meal ordering, the training and the monitoring, the media release, application for free program meals, notification to households regarding the application for free program meals, food service management companies, and other responsibilities. So your general responsibility is you need to maintain the documentation of nonprofit food service. All program reimbursement funds must be used solely for the conduct of the nonprofit food service operation, and the state agency approval shall be required for net cash resources in excess of the requirements. So the sponsors shall monitor program cost, and in the event of the net cash resources exceed the requirements outlined, and to take action to improve the meal service or other aspects of the program. Meal ordering. Each sponsor shall, to the maximum extent feasible, utilize either its own food service facility or obtain meals from a school food service facility. If the sponsor obtains meals from the school food service facility, the applicable requirements of this part shall be embodied in a written agreement between the sponsor and the school. The sponsors shall plan for and prepare or order meals on the basis of participating trends, with the objective of providing only one meal per child at each meal service. The sponsor shall make the adjustments necessary to achieve this objective using the results from its monitoring of sites. The sponsor shall not order or prepare meals for children at any site in excess of the site's approval level. The sponsor shall not order or prepare meals for children in X site. I'm reading the same thing. I apologize. I have that on there twice. All right. Record keeping. It is important that SFSP sponsoring organizations adhere to the deadline dates. So May 15th, 2023. And the approval for this for the USDA is June 15th. So I have to have everything approved by June 15th. Otherwise, anything after June 15th, we can't accept. So that's why it's very, very important. Records and claiming. In order to have access to the New Hampshire online system, which we usually call FNS system, new users must create an account. So you're going to log in here, and there's a little right-hand box, and you're going to create your single sign-on. And you're going to complete and submit the SFSP program authorization form, which can be found on the SFSP page of our website. And I've attached it with the forms. Once both steps have been completed, users of the system will be linked to the online computer security system. So this is what it looks like. So creating a new account is right here with this arrow. Sometimes I know you guys forget your passwords. If you're only in the system, for a couple months, you can click on here for forgot username or password. If you have any issues, there is help for contact support. So I would contact them, especially if you have to reset your password. But otherwise, this is your basic logon page. This is the program authorization form. The form has changed. We've developed a form in our programs. You'll want to go to our website, which is on the form. No, that's a lot. Yeah. Fill in the form and make sure you check off the SFSP box. So for applications now, if everybody is still the same as they were last year, you're good to go. If you need to look up on who was who, I can do that for you. That's not a problem. So you're gonna put the name of the person, user ID, if once they've done their once they've created their account, there's usually a user ID. That helps because sometimes there could be two Patty Kerrigans that are in the system, and I wouldn't know which one is which unless I really had to get in and dig. So it helps to have that user ID. And on the very last boxes here is the SFSP checkoff. You do not need to worry about the direct cert or the verification summary. That is for NSLP. And then we have it going. It's now changed. I mean, if you send it to me, that's fine. But Maddie is the one who's taking care of these forms. But if you, like I said, if you send it to me, I'll just forward it to her. So claims for reimbursement. Before you can submit a claim, you must have an approved application. So if you go to open your claims and it says it won't let you, that's because your application's not approved. So the all claims should be entered by the 10th of the following month. As stated earlier, there must be 2 individuals for claims, the claim data entry person and the claim submit person. It is imperative that the sponsors submit their claims to the state agency by the deadline dates. As you can see in the picture, the children are being fed by you, is why you're able to submit this SFSP claim for reimbursement. Failure to submit an original claim or claim revision by the 60th day following the claim month will result in a corrective action if you don't already have one. Payment will not be made until the corrective action plan has been approved by the state agency. Sponsors will be under corrective action for a period of 3 years, which is 36 months, and subsequent late claims during this 3-year period will not be paid by the state agency. So in the past 3 years, if you've had to do a corrective action for a late claim and you're late again this year, you will not get paid for that claim. Please remember to do claims after each month. It's the best practice that you can have. So this is the actual citation. So I'm not going to read the whole thing. You guys have it on your PowerPoint that you can read. But like I said, USDA has a 60-day deadline, but state agencies may establish a shorter deadline, and ours is by the 10th of the following month of the claim. So sponsor and site claims. Claims must be data entered and submitted monthly, again by the 10th of the following month. First meal served to eligible children 18 years and under, and persons over 18 of age who are determined by the state educational agency or a local public education agency of the state to be mentally or physically handicapped and who participates in a public or non-profit private school program established for the mentally or physically handicapped. Second meals. This summer food, you can do second meals. It represents only only meals served. Second meals served cannot exceed 2%. So if you go over 2%, just know that you can only claim for 2% of the meals served. There's no rounding up of meals. Second meal counts must be supported with the appropriate documentation. And what is a second meal? It's a complete meal, not a partial. So you must record all second meals as you do the first meals. As we have in an online application, there is a sponsor page and a site page. The first page will list the sponsor name, the month of the claim, and you'll see the sites listed. Once you click on the site page will appear, and that's when you enter those claims. This is just the 60-day calendar rule. We post this everywhere. It tells you that, if you have claims in July, you better have them in before September 29th because you're over 60 days past that. But again, the state agency requests that you put them in by the 10th of the following month. Claim warnings and errors. When a claim has a warning, the claim submit person must validate the numbers entered into the claim that are correct. If there's a discrepancy, the claim will need to be returned to the data entry for revisions and submission through the online claiming system to the state agency for approval. So claim submit people, if you get the claim back, if you see there's an error that they entered a wrong number or transposed a number, you can send that back by hitting on the, the claim, and then it'll ask you if you want to submit it or return it. When the claim has errors must be fixed in order for the claim to be reimbursed. In this example, we see the number of second meals for breakfast and lunch exceeded the 2% of the first meals. Breakfast, 285 times 2% equals 5.7. Sponsors can only receive up to the 5 second meals. You must round down, you can't round up. So that would have to be fixed. And you must have the paperwork to support the second meals served. So you have to have a checklist, just as you do for the first one, or a separate second meal checklist, whatever you're going to do that supports these claims. You can't just say, well, I get over 2%. Over 2% of the kids come up and get another full meal. You can't do that. You need to actually have actual numbers. So disregards and disallowances. There's claims. For any fiscal year, the state agency conducting audits or management evaluations may disregard an overpayment which does not exceed $100. An overpayment is in excess of the threshold or when there is a substantial evidence of a violation or criminal law or civil fraud statute will not be disregarded. When there are unpaid claims for the same fiscal year, the overpayment can be deducted from future positive claims within the same fiscal year. When there are unpaid claims for different fiscal years, the sponsor must submit a check and the amount of the overpayment to the state agency. So there's an appeal process for New Hampshire. There is a link, and I'm pretty sure it's in my references as well. The sponsor can appeal any financial amount, but not the actual finding from the SFSP administrative review. So let me put this poll up, true or false. The same person can enter the claims just like the application of the same person. Is it true or false? Well, that went quick. Let's see. I'm glad that everybody is listening. Well, so we have 5% that say it's true and 95% say it's false. So it is false. The same person cannot enter the claims and be the submit person. So the application, you can have the same person be the submit person, the data entry person for the application can be the same person for the the submit application. When it comes to claims, you have to have 2 different people. If a person goes on vacation or is going to be out or has left, you have to find another person, and then you will fill out a program authorization form, and you would send that in, we would change it, and then that person would be able to submit the claims or enter the claims however you want. But this is for all our child nutrition programs. So if you're on CACFP or if you're on schools, it cannot be the same person. Let me stop this. Where's my mouse? Okay. So training. Each sponsor shall hold program training sessions for its administrative and site personnel and shall allow no site to operate until personnel have attended at least one of these training sessions. You do not need to put, administration on all of these programs, or some, maybe the administration has, you separate it out. You take the slides that pertain to your staff for for sites, and then you take it for administration. So however you want to do it, but these are the topics. So the purpose of the SFSP program: eligibility requirements, record keeping, site operation, meal pattern requirements, and the duties of the monitor. On the right-hand side is suggested training topics on top of what is required. So if you're going over meal pattern requirements, you might want to do meal quality and meal service, meal preparation, ordering, and adjustments, meal counting, not county, and claim preparation, documentation of nonprofit food service. It's that just might be for administration or your BA or whoever does your books. So these are some ones that you want to add into what is on the minimum training topics. New sponsor training and responsibility. All potential new sponsors must provide documentation that they are financially viable to participate in SFSP. Financial documents that will be requested during the application process will include, at a minimum, the balance sheet utilizing an accrual or a modified accrual method principles for most current month ended, a bank statements, same month as the balance sheet, income statement, profit and loss statement for 12 months ending in the same month as the balance sheet. If potential new sponsor is a nonprofit agency, a copy of the last submitted 990 form, and nonprofits must have an independent board of directors. The SFSP is funded through the United States Department of Agriculture, USDA, and administrated by the New Hampshire Education Department, Office of Nutrition Programs and Services, to provide reimbursement to sponsor organizations for serving healthy meals and snacks to children. The goal of SFSP is for sponsoring organizations to serve well-balanced meals and encourage good eating habits in all SFSP settings. Participating in the SFSP must help ensure the delivery of benefits to the neediest children in your community. All program funds come from tax dollars. All funds must be spent on food-related costs for this SFSP, and all participating agencies must account how these funds are used. So who does the program serve? Children through ages 18. What kind of meals are served? SFSP facilities must follow the meal patterns established by USDA. Breakfast consists of serving fluid milk, fruit or vegetable, and a grain of bread. Lunch required fluid milk, grain of bread, meat or meat alternative, and a serving of fruit and vegetable. Snack includes 2 of the 4 components: fluid milk, fruit or vegetable, grain of bread, meat alternative. So SFSP reimburses participating centers for serving nutritious meals according to USDA meal patterns. They also provide training, monitors the program, and provides guidance and assistance to assure the sponsors are meeting program requirements. And some of the key responsibilities is to maintain program eligibility, serving meals that meet program requirements, keep daily records of participants and number of meals served, comply with all regulations and instructions related to CSFP and civil rights. Monitoring is key link between the sponsor and the site personnel to ensure that the program functions properly. Just because you have trained them does not mean they'll complete the task as needed. Monitoring includes the pre-operational visit, site visit, and site reviews. The following slides will explain the differences. This link will bring you to the current sponsor monitoring handbook, revised in February 2017, which will be updated in the near future due to the integrity rules. Pre-operational visits are when a sponsor applies for SFSP. The sponsor must certify that all required pre-operational site visits have been conducted. Sponsors must visit all new and problem sites from before the beginning of operation. There's a separate sponsor monitor guide that has the sample form. The document for documenting each of these visits. You can find you can find the form on page 22 of the sponsoring monitoring handbook. You do not need to visit existing sites if they are in good standings, but it would be a best practice to assure the site is what you're expecting. You could go to one of your sites and find it's all taped up or a huge hole where the park was and you can't use it. They could have given you an address and you go and it does not exist, or it's a house. Best practice, visit all your sites before the program starts. The first week site form can be found in the monitoring handbook on page 23. This visit is to make sure the food service operation is running smoothly and to verify information as a site address, storage, holding, preparation facilities, and serving capacity. Your requirement to visit the first week have now changed due to the SFSP integrity rule. The new rule revises to require a visit within the first 2 weeks of operation for new sites with operational problems in the prior year, and any sites where the site agency determines a visit is needed. For sites that operate for a week or less, the site visit must be conducted during that period of operation as proposed. And it adds a new paragraph that sponsors site visits that require each state agency to establish criteria of what constitute operational problems in order to help sponsors determine which of the returning sites are required to receive a visit. And it revises to allow food service reviews to occur at the same time as a site visit. Site reviews, I always call it the fourth week review. You will observe delivery and preparation of the meals, service of meals, and completion of site meal count paperwork. Observe whether the site is taking appropriate steps to ensure food safety. Checking temperatures of the food received from a central kitchen or foods that are prepared on site. Need to know where and how food is stored and temperatures monitored. This site review needs to be completed for all sites, and forms can be found on pages 24 through 27. So there's 3 pages of it. So does anybody have any questions on monitoring? Best practice, if you have many sites, make a page for each one. For each site, if you go to it, then you can use the page. If you don't go it, at least you can write on the page and say, this is in good standings, or, whatever you're going to do. But at least you have documentation that at least you know where your sites are. Have a binder, that just has all your monitoring reviews. And you're supposed to keep all your information for 3 years plus the current. Unless you're in an audit, and it may be longer. So you're going to have last year's documentation. But say you have new monitors. Maybe they want to read what happened or why you didn't go last year. That's stuff that you should be doing. Media release, everybody's favorite. So each sponsor shall annually announce in the media release, serving the areas from which it draws its attendance to the availability of free meals. Camps and other programs not eligible under 2252 areas in which poor economic conditions exist, shall annually announce to all participants the availability of free meals for eligible children. All media releases issued by camps and other programs are not eligible under 2252. So you will find that there are two media releases, one for open and one for closed. You need to send it to your local paper. Does not mean you have to pay for it. It is just, I don't know if you want to call it a media release or a public release. It's just letting the paper know, and it's up to the paper whether they put it in or not. However, you do want to let your schools know, because the schools do need to put it out to all the children in that area, that they have meals available at certain sites. So just, pay attention to it. It's not, it's a basic, we've given you samples of it, and you just need to fill it in and make sure you attach, and make sure you're telling me what paper you put it in or you sent it to. So the application for the free program meals. So the purpose of the application form, the application is used to determine eligibility of children attending camps and the eligibility of sites that are not open sites as defined in paragraph A, areas in which poor economical conditions exist. In these situations, parents or guardians of children enrolled in camps or other sites must be given application forms to provide information described in paragraph of this section as applicable. Applications are not necessary if other information sources are available and can be used to determine eligibility of individual children in camps or sites. This is not non-residential camps still need to fill these out. So this is the form. It has not changed. The only thing has changed, well, apparently I didn't put the new one on here, but the new one should have the new dates for 22-23. Children may be determined categorically eligible for free meals through participation in certain federal assistance programs, such as SNAP, or whether they're homeless or migrant. So foster child, homeless migrant, case number. So if they don't have a case number, they go to step 3. If they do have a case number, they go to step 4, which means the last 4 digits does not need to be put here because they have a case number. Okay. This is the back page. This is where, and we'll get into the racial ethnic in a little bit, but this is where you can have them check off what they are. I want to see this bottom section filled out. I want to see the total income, whether it was weekly, bi-weekly, twice a month, or monthly. How many are in the household? If they didn't have this, were they category eligible? Check it off, mark it as free. If the total income is reduced, you check this off, or if it's denied. Some parents will just put on the front of it, over income. Then you would just make sure that you're putting denied. Whoever's doing this determination, you need to sign it and you date it. Second, best practice, you'd have somebody who confirms that your totals are correct. Because I'd hate to come out and you have, 10 kids that were determined free and they really should have been reduced. Or they should have been, not that they pay, but they should have been marked underpaid. That's possible money that we would be taking back from you guys. If this bottom section is not filled out, then it's an incomplete application. You guys need to fill it out, and you need to fill them out as you're getting them, because that's when that makes them eligible. Camps, I know you guys put them out early. So there's no reason that, they can't be done before camps even start. If you are doing annual income conversions to make it out to a year, so say they have a weekly and then they have a twice a month, then you want to figure it out for each one and then bring it out to a year. Once you bring it out to a year, that's your total income. And then you put the household size. If they're only giving you weekly on the front, then you determine it weekly. And the income guidelines are have been updated as well. So these are the free meal, these are the guidelines. I just blew them up. But they are, the form is online as well. So it does have all 5, the yearly, the monthly, the weekly, the twice a month. This is the letter. It shows only that the reduced portion of the income, and you also need to add the non-discrimination form. This is also online. So if you're going to be sending this to the parents with the application, saying, I need you to fill this out. Remember, you guys don't use this chart because it's only reduced. You need to use the full free and reduced chart that we give you guys. And then they return it. Again, make sure that you have the non-discrimination statement on this. So now, there are not too many of you that use food service management contracts or vended meals with the summer food, with the exception of some of the schools. A sponsor may contract with the food service management company to manage the sponsor's food service operation and or for the preparation of utilized meals with or without milk. Any vended sponsor shall be responsible for ensuring that the food service operation is in conformity with its agreement with the state agency and with the applicable provisions of its part. If you're interested and need to know about more food service management contracts or vended meal contract, please contact me and we can discuss this further. Now we're going to get on to food safety. So you'll want to make sure you have calibrated thermometers that are used to take the temps of the foods. If thermometers are not calibrated regularly, accurate temperatures cannot be assured. Please refer to the nutrition guidelines for the sponsors on page 78. I could say that if you're putting thermometers in a cooler, they get moved around, they get jostled, especially if it's, this normal kind of calibration thermometer. They're really easy to calibrate. I mean, you get a bucket of water, you put the ice in it, and then you wait till it starts to melt, and then you can go in and know it's 32 degrees, and you set it for that. Have a chart, just like you have to have a temperature chart. Have a chart of when you do your, calibration of thermometers. Now, if you're in a regular kitchen and you're preparing the food and you're using the same, you're not gonna have a lot of these thermometers that are going in coolers. It's mainly the coolers you want to be careful for. Avoid holding foods in this temperature danger zone. Keep cold meals and milk not being served at the time in a refrigerator or a cooler at a temperature of 40 degrees or below. Hot meals should be in a warming unit or insulated box at holding temperatures of 135 degrees or more. Temperature logs only need to be kept for 6 months. Everything else is 3 years plus the current. So when you're doing your temperatures of your refrigerators, or you're doing your temperatures of your freezers, or your milk cooler, or egg, your coolers that are sending out food, you should have temperature logs for all of those. Even your storage room, because some storage rooms can get up to 90. Then you got to start watching, 90, 100 degrees in a storage room. You got to watch out for your cans, starting to explode and all that. So storage room should be temp is if you're putting SFSP food wherever you're storing it, it needs temperature. So if the temperature outside is 90 degrees or higher, such as during the summer, illness-caused bacteria can start growing in 1 hour. It's also important to have date marking system in place. Date marking is a way to control the growth of Listeria, a bacteria that grows at refrigeration temperatures. Bacteria can grow rapidly between 40 and 135, which includes the room temperature. This is known as the danger zone. Avoid holding foods in a temperature danger zone. Do not hold foods at temperature danger zones for longer than 2 hours. After the 2 hours, discard the food. Keep meals and milk not being served at the time in the refrigerator or cooler at the temperature of 40 degrees above. If you're packing coolers, and they have a couple rows of food, yeah, may want to keep the lid of the cooler open in the refrigerator so it's getting that cold air in. Hot meals should be in a warming unit. Remember that you cannot determine food safety by sight, taste, odor, or smell. If there's any doubts, throw it out. Train food service employees on safe food handling, on the safe use of types of equipment, and on personal hygiene. Keep a fire extinguisher and a first aid handy, and instruct all personnel in their use. So following 4 simple steps during transportation, preparation, and serving can help children at your sites safe from foodborne illness. You want to make sure you're clean. Make sure that everything that touches food is clean. Wash hands for 20 seconds with soap and running water. More about hand washing in a later slide. Cough or sneeze into disposable tissues, then throw them away, then wash your hands. Separate. Avoid cross-contamination. No bare hand contact with ready-to-eat food. Appropriate glove use. There are no magic gloves. Cook. Food is safely cooked when the food thermometer indicates that the food has reached the minimum safe internal cooking temperature. Keep hot foods after cooking 140 degrees or above. Calibrate thermometers on a regular basis. And then chill. Refrigerate perishable foods within 2 hours. Appliance thermometers help you know if the refrigerator and freezer are cold enough. Don't thaw at room temperature and don't cool at room temperature. Use the 2-step cooling. All right, looks like we have some questions. All right, Tasha, am I reading it correctly that a site can only qualify for SFSP if the community is 50% or greater, free and reduced? So if Raymond does not qualify, that is correct. So if your school is not on the 50% list, or you go into the area eligibility and type the address where the site or the school is, and it's not on the list, you cannot do it. However, you can run extended NSLP. And what that means is you're still giving food to those kids that go to school during the summer. But you are claiming them like you would during the school year. They would be claimed at free, reduced, and paid. Another one says, I've seen a digital thermometers linked to tracking software that automatically log temperatures continuously for days, weeks, and months. Is this acceptable way to log temperatures for freezers and refrigerators, or is it necessary to have a handwritten log? If you have a software that can print out your temps, then that's fine. That's actually a more accurate way anyways. So yeah, that's okay, as long as you can print out those logs and have them readily available when we come in to look, that's okay. Do restricted open sites need to provide a media release? All sites need to provide a media release, and there's 2 types on our site where the application materials are. One is for open and the other is for closed enrolled. So restricted open would probably, you're still going to let people know that the site is there, but it's I just don't want to say this wrong. Let me get the actual wording for restricted open, and which one you should be using. Okay, so back to the slides. So you're going to use a food safety checklist, which is found in the 2018 Nutrition Guidelines for Sponsors Manual, which is pages 89 through 94. You're going to determine areas of your operation requiring corrective action. You're going to record corrective actions and taken and keep complete records in a notebook for future reference. Personal hygiene, you're going to clean clothes, closed-toe shoes, hair restraints, and clean hands and body. I would recommend staff, because this has happened before to me when I've done, when I was a sponsor, that if anybody's going to be putting their hair up, they do it before they enter the area where the food is. That, you know, particles can fly off right into the food as it's being prepared, whether it's a kitchen or whether even if it's on a table and it's all the stuff is already wrapped. Put your hair up before you enter any of the areas where the food is. Restrict or exclude sick staff. There's a difference between cleaning and sanitizing. Make sure that your staff is using sanitizer per the label and are testing and recording sanitizer strengths. Hand washing, most of us know. It's, you know, it's for both food preparers and children are extremely important. For children that have access to it, carefully wash their hands with soap and warm water for 20 seconds. It'll reduce the risk of spreading pathogens. For young children, frequent supervised hand washing with soap and is particularly important. Children should always wash their hands before eating. I know in a lot of these open sites, you there's no hand washing sinks. And you're not required to, hand them a wipe before they take their meal. But it is a good practice. So the procedure, of course, wash your hands thoroughly by paying special attention to the germs that may be trapped under your nails and in the crevices. Rinse well to remove all traces of soap. Dry your hands with a paper towel. Use a paper towel to turn off the faucets after washing your hands. Whoops. And allow hands to dry thoroughly after cleaning before contact with anything. Yeah, because you're not going to want to put a glove on when your hands are still wet. So, again, this is a nice poster, a one-pager that we can send to you, or you can log on to ICM website and obtain the resource there as well. It's nice to put over a sink. All right, so now we're going to go to a poll. How many meals can be served during the day? 2 meals and 1 snack? 2 meals, lunch and supper? 1 meal and 2 snacks? 2 meals, breakfast and lunch? 2 meals, breakfast and supper? Or D and E? Give you another few minutes, a few seconds to answer this. All right, looks like we're slowing down here. Or we're changing minds. All right, I'm going to end it. So the results are 48% think it's 2 meals and 1 snack. 20% think it's 2 meals, breakfast and lunch. And 32% think it's D and E. And you are, the ones who answered D and E is correct. 2 meals, breakfast and lunch, or 2 meals, breakfast and supper. You cannot have 2 meals and a snack. You can do that in school during NSLP, and you can during, CACFP. SFSP is 2 meals. You cannot do lunch and supper at any time together. It always has to be either breakfast and lunch or breakfast and supper. I don't find many people doing a meal and a snack, because to add a milk to a snack would give you like a breakfast. So, and you definitely can't do lunch and supper, and you can't do 1 meal and 2 snacks. So 2 meals, breakfast and lunch, that is correct. And 2 meals, breakfast and supper, that is correct. But it's actually either one of these two, D and E. So good job, because we really haven't gone over this yet. All right. And residential camps, I should have said you don't need to answer this. And that might have been who did the, because you're allowed to serve 3 meals, breakfast, lunch, and supper, because you are residential. So meal service, it may be served under programs are breakfast, lunch, and supper, and supplements, referred to from this point as snacks. No sponsor may be approved to provide more than 2 snacks per day. A sponsor may only be reimbursed for meals served in accordance with this section. So again, pretty much what I just went over. The new integrity rule states that it clarifies that a meal claimed as breakfast must be served at or close to the beginning of the day and cannot be served after lunch or supper. Adds a requirement that for all sites except residential camps, a minimum 1 hour must elapse between the end of one meal service and the beginning of the other, and adds a statement agency adds that the state agency may approve for reimbursable meals served outside of the approved meal service time if an unanticipated event outside of the sponsor's control occurs. So we're going to continue. So the duration of the meal service shall be limited to 2 hours at the max for lunch and supper, and 1 hour for all other meals. Meals served outside the period of approved meals shall not be eligible for program payments unless it's something happened, and we can go over that. Any permanent or planned changes in meal service periods must be approved by the state agency. Meals which are not prepared at the food service site shall be delivered no earlier than 1 hour prior to the beginning of the meal service, unless the site has adequate facilities for holding hot and cold meals within the temperatures required by state and local health regulations, and no later than the beginning of the meal service. The sponsor shall claim for reimbursement only for the types of meals for which it is approved under its agreement with the state agency. Meal pattern requirements. So you can go to this link. This is the USDA link. And then these are what reversible meals are. So it's important for a successful SFSP to serve nutritious meals that meet meal pattern requirements and that are appetizing to children. Careful menu planning is necessary to meet the goal. The meal pattern outlines the required food component and their minimum serving sizes in order for the meal to be eligible for reimbursement. A food component is one of the foods groups that comprises a reimbursable meal: milk, grains and breads, vegetables and or fruits, meat and meat alternatives. Meal pattern chart is on page 11 of the nutrition guidelines. The integrity rule changes the offer versus serve back to the original requirement. It retains the requirement that only SFA sponsors may utilize the offer versus serve option, consistent with the statute. It allows SFAs or SAUs, sponsors electing to use the SFSP meal pattern, to use SFSP offer versus serve guidelines. If you're choosing to use offer versus serve as a school, please indicate that to me. Sponsors may serve 1 or 2 meals a day at open, restricted, open and enrolled sites. Sponsors may choose which combination of meals they would like to serve. However, serving lunch and supper on the same day is not allowed. Residential camps may serve up to 3 meals a day. So this is breakfast. So the following 4 food items, and this is items, must be offered. 1 serving of fruit or vegetable, 1 serving of bread alternative, 1 serving of fluid milk, 1 additional serving of fruit or vegetable, bread alternative, or a serving of a meat alternative. All the food items must be different from each other, and a child must take at least 3 of any of the 4 items offered, and may choose to take all 4 items. Most of you are putting it in as a combination. This would only be allowed for the schools to be able to do offer. Lunch. For lunch and or supper, they're the same meal pattern. They are choosing the 4 groups. However, you need to have at least 5 different food items. Best practice is have a fruit and a vegetable. That way the children are getting more vitamins and nutrients. So you have 1 serving of meat alternative, 2 servings of fruit and or vegetable, 1 serving of bread alternative, 1 serving of milk. All the food items offered must be different from each other. So you can't have a green apple and a red apple. A child must take at least 3 food components and may choose to take all 5, or if you are in a school. This form will need to be filled out and uploaded to your 23 application. And this is for the offer versus serve. This is going to let me know if your school is doing this. So the breakfast meal pattern. When you are a serve site, you must serve food items from all 3 required food components for breakfast. So it's a milk, 8 ounces or 1 cup. That's a standalone food component. Vegetable or fruit or full strength juice, which is half a cup. Grain and or bread. Bread is 1 slice. Cornbread, biscuits, rolls, muffins, 1 serving. Cold dry cereal, 3/4 of a cup or 1 ounce. Or you can change out and do a meat alternative, usually for the grain. People do this for, and do poultry, fish, cheese, eggs is half large egg. Peanut butter, that's 2 tablespoons. Now that's just for 1 ounce. Yogurt is 4 ounces or half a cup. Bacon is not considered a meat alternative. And then remember to offer healthy, foods that fall within the different components. In addition, purchasing local food or growing your own for the food in the summer garden is a great way to market your program and add fresh products into your menu. Talk with local farmers. Tell them about your program and see if they can help you out in any way. You can even tell families which farms you use to make their meals. Sometimes you can go to farmers markets, pick up some of your fresh fruits and vegetables there. You're helping local farmers that way, and you're getting a variety of food. So the lunch and supper meal pattern. Again, if you're served, you must serve all the items from the 4 food components, but there are 5 items. So milk, again, a standalone food component. Vegetable and or fruit, 3/4 of a cup total. So 2 different types that equal 3/4 a cup. Grain and breads, 1 slice again. Cornbread biscuits, 1 slice. Pasta, half a cup. And then the meat alternative, lean meats, eggs, beans, peas, peanut butter, 4 tablespoons is what equals 2 ounces. Yogurt would be 8 ounces or 1 cup. Nuts and seeds equals 50% and only counts for half of the meat alternative requirement. So this is just a recipe I found on it's actually a CACFP recipe, but thought it would be cool for SFSP. It's a pizza kebab. It's 4 ounces of turkey pepperoni, 8 ounces of mozzarella string cheese, 2 100% whole wheat pita breads, 24 cherry tomatoes halved, 8 dull kebab sticks because you don't want kids using them as swords, 1 cup of marinara tomato sauce or pizza sauce, and 16 fresh basil leaves, which is optional. And you cut the string cheese and you just kind of rotate. And I know when we used to do at open sites, we would have pizza when we'd have an English muffin, and then we'd have a cup of sauce and a bag of pepperoni and a bag of cheese. I just think this makes it so much easier and something different for the kids. So the snack meal pattern, you serve 2 of the 4 components. So it's milk, vegetable or fruit, or 100% drink, 100% strength juice, grains and breads, and meat alternatives. Please note, nobody can do offer versus serve for snacks. So how can I make my mealtime more fun for the children I serve? There's a lot of things you can make, you can do. The first thing is, get to know the children themselves. There are usually the same children. Each child reacts differently to different foods and eats in his or her own way. Remember, never force a child to eat, to be sure to give them enough and be sure to give them enough time to eat. The environment you provide is important. A clean area with bright colors, age, appropriate seating, tables, and utensil helps. Also, not always, a lot of times you're at a park. A lot of times you're at a park, I apologize. Also present attractive meals at the proper temperatures, giving the children quiet time before the meal and having them help clean up afterwards. Some kids love to put gloves on and pick up trash and put it in a bag. So those are just some of the ways. And then some for another recipe. This is a Tuscan grilled cheese sandwich. You could serve this hot or cold. It tells you, what the crediting is. This is where I found it, the recipe. They added tomato and spinach and Italian spices to a classic grilled cheese to create a Tuscan grilled cheese sandwich. How simple is that? Kids love cheese, and they can pick out the spinach or tomatoes if they want, but I think it's a great idea. I have a 15-minute break here, but I think we're going to keep going for a little bit longer. Now we're going to get into viable, capable, and accountable. This again is one of the big things that is coming out of that integrity rule. So the federal regulations require that all participating institutes be financially viable, administratively capable, and have controls for accountability. This is to make sure the taxpayers' money is being used effectively for the intended purpose. So sponsors already participating in SFSP must continue to be viable, capable, and accountable. State agency will monitor the VCA by requesting updates on program operations and conducting administrative reviews. Institutes that don't demonstrate viability, capability, and accountability may be subject to a financial penalty or determination from SFSP. All right, we do have one question. How do you document farmers markets purchases? Most of them don't have receipts. Just document that, on a piece of paper that on this date, you purchased, 10 tomatoes from this whatever farmer's market's name is, or the local farmer. And, and then just have that documentation. We know that sometimes you don't have receipts, but you can do that. Sometimes the farmer's market will, maybe you can do a handwritten ahead of time and just have them sign it. Put the price in and sign it. You could do it that way too. But yeah, we know that most of the time they don't have receipts. And but it's great to use it. And I do have to say, this is, Peter, and Peter has a fantastic garden that he grows as well. So if anybody is interested in growing their own garden, please let me know, and maybe he'll be able to help us out. Sorry about Peter, I didn't ask you that, but all right, so let's move on to demonstrating financial and administrative capability. You must demonstrate it. Does the institution have adequate financial resources to maintain operations, even if there's a disruption in the normal income or delay in the SFSP reimbursement? This goes back to your budget. When I'm asking you for that additional income that you're getting. This is one of the reasons we are asking that. You're showing me that you are financial capable by doing that. So you should be able to document your institution's financial viability through audit reports or financial statements. Each sponsor must show the state agency that they are capable of running the program that adheres to the federal regulations. Administrative capability means that the institute has enough qualified staff members to meet all the SFSP requirements. Also, the institution has management procedures in place to ensure that SFSP requirements are met. Accountability means that the institute follows sound management and accounting practices. System must be in place to ensure fiscal integrity and prevent improper financial activities. In addition, nonprofit organizations must have an independent board of directors that has the power to replace the executive director. And these categories will be explained in the following slide. So within the application process, sponsors will provide a budget for the summer food program. The budget should realistically cover all costs. The costs exceed the revenue from the meal reimbursement, then the sponsor must accept the financial risk. The buck stops with the sponsor. The sponsor is accepting all financial and administrative responsibility for their sites. All right, so sponsors must conduct a nonprofit food service. This does not mean that the sponsor must break even or lose money. They just cannot make a profit through running the summer food program. Any money that exceeds the cost must be put back into the summer food program. Operation of the nonprofit food service includes food service operations are principally for the benefit of the children, and all program funds are used solely for the food service program. So exercise management control of the sites. You cannot be delegated, the management responsibility cannot be delegated below to the sponsor level. It has to be at the management. The quality of the meal service, the conduct of the site personnel, the adequacy of record keeping reflect directly upon the sponsor's performance. This performance is subject to review by the state agency, USDA Office of the Inspection General, and the Government Accountability Office. Allowable cost. The normal allowable expense that was either not necessary, buying 10 cases of canned peaches when you already had 20 in stock, nor reasonable, paying $100 for something that would have normally cost $10 per case, would become an unallowable cost. Allowable cost may be either direct or indirect cost. Direct costs are not only necessary and reasonable, but they're also allocable to the program. Labor to be prepared and deliver meals and purchasing food and supplies are obvious costs that can be allocated directly to the program. Indirect costs that are also necessary and reasonable, but may split among the multiple programs. Only a program prorated portion of the charged to the program. Utilities could either be direct or indirect, but they cannot be both at the same time. Unallowable cost may be incurred, but cannot be covered by using federal funding. Unallowable costs can be unnecessary or unreasonable. For example, a 100-pound sack of flour could be necessary and reasonable cost if the flour is being used to make meals. If the flour was purchased for the art activities, then it's an unallowable to the meals program. Plus, you better have recipes that are showing me that you're using 100 pounds of flour. Or the flour was purchased at an unreasonable dollar amount, even if it's used to make the meals. The unreasonable price would make the cost unallowable. Procurement is the purchase of anything, goods or services. Also, procurement is a process, not just an event. 2 CFR 200 is now in effect and covers purchases made for all child nutrition meal programs. These are the steps for procurement process. When we're reviewing your program, we'll be asking you to see your procurement policy and procedure and your code of conduct policy and procedure. If you don't have one, then one will need to be created. There is a sample one online, but by now, most of you do have it, and it should be adapted to your procurement process. You know, if you do the summer food program and you do the SFSP program, and you run another USDA program, are your procurement processes the same for all those programs because they're federal programs? Are they different for a certain reason? What's that reasoning? So you're going to have a process and a procedure and a plan for this. So everyone who's interested should have the privilege of working with you. Making sure you keep to good procurement principles will help that happen. So you're going to have fair and open competition, writing specs that are not so restrictive and that only one vendor can respond. Fairness and integrity awards the contract of making the purchase using the criteria that you said you would use. Looking at the bids or proposals and identifying the responses as responsive or non-responsive, or vendors who can give you what you can ask for and the way that you want it, and vendors who can't. Managing your contract will be a contract to be able to identify responsible and non-responsible vendors, or vendors who follow through with their promise, or even vendors who could not demonstrate in their bid that they could handle your business. Be transparent in everything that you do. Your purchase should be an open book. There is nothing that you want to do that wouldn't mind your mother knowing about. I also want to mention here that if you are dealing with larger invoices, larger companies, instead of just going to the market like some of you have to do, check your invoices quite often. Compare them, make sure your prices aren't rising, and especially if they said they're going to give you at this price, just make sure, or is there any sales going on, or be proactive with them and not just order the food and pay them. So that's just one added best practice. So remember, if you have a contractor managing your meals program or providing vended meals to you, the contract for the service must be approved by the state agency before starting the service. Failure to having a contract approved by the state agency prior to the service will result in not being able to claim the meals served. Minority business enterprise. While you are not arbitrarily splitting up your purchases so they fall under either micro or small purchase thresholds, you may word your specification in such a way that it will tell vendors that you are willing to award the purchase to the multiple vendors, accepting smaller quantities from smaller enterprises. For further clarification on this, use the link on the slide. The CFR requires that steps be taken to ensure that all vendors have the opportunity to sell to you. and that each food service sponsor must have a code of conduct and a written procurement policy that includes what the steps are that you will be taking to ensure this. You might want to make sure, like, say you're getting CACFP and you're using one contractor. You may want to, for summer, look at other contractors because they may be coming in at a lower price because they're used to doing summer instead of CACFP. Just really just take those contracts into consideration, that you're not just looking at it once, you're looking at throughout the program. So a fun activity for kids for the summer. It helps spark those imaginations. Everyone's got a favorite game to play or activities to do in the park, and active nature play is vital for so many aspects of the children's development. Fresh air, physical activity, and bonding times are good for everyone's health. And playtime helps children develop important social skills, problem solving skills, motor skills, self-regulation, and more. You can also do, follow the leader, red light, green light, hopscotch, Simon Says, frisbee, get those dollar stores, coloring books. Here, they're asking the kids to pretend that they're lifting or holding an imaginary object. What does it feel like to hold a kitten or a puppy? What's it feel like to block at ice? Are you shivering? A butterfly, does it tickle? A basket of tomatoes, a giant bouncy ball. Is it heavy? Is it big? A hot potato. Oh my. So, get engaged with the kids. Don't just like, here's your food, see you later. Especially if you're at a park or an open site and those same kids are coming every time. Get interactive with them. Talk about them with school. I know they're out of school, but what's their favorite subjects? What did they like to learn? Maybe it's the same that you liked. And you can tell them, how you've advanced in your schools with that same subject that they love. So there's so many different things. Also back to procurement, because I don't think I mentioned it. Most of you are going to be in that, micro small purchase threshold, because procurement, it's per purchase. It's not per the whole year. So you're, you have to know what your purchase limits are. Like micro right now for USD, I think is 10,000 and small is 250,000. So, but that's, like I said, per purchase. So if you're doing micro, you have to share it fair and equitable. But if you're in a small town that only has one market and would cost, more money to go to another town to get, same product, then that's not going to be fair and equitable to you. But if you're in an area where, if you're not using a company and you're going to markets, then you may buy, Sam's Club, BJ's, you may, your company has a Sam's Club, that's great, but why, you're not sharing it around? Why aren't you going to Market Basket or, so you have to be very, very careful when it comes to micro purchases and making sure you're sharing it around. So serving low income children. We're going to get into these mapping tools. Most of you have used them and seen them. So let's see. So mapping tools for summer meal programs. There are 4 mapping tools to assist state agencies, partners, and sponsors interested in using data to build. So I know Raymond was asking about qualifying. The area eligible mapper, which is right here, is the way that you would find out. So I put in 101 Pleasant Street, Concord, because that's where our office was. It came up blue, which makes sense because it's more urban, metro, because of all the work businesses. However, if I were to scan in, you'd start seeing pink around certain areas because of Concord. But so when you put it in, you put your address in, This little icon, let me go over here. This little icon will tell you if it's yes or no. So down here, I clicked on here and it told me that for FY20 area eligibility is no. You could draw things on here if you needed to. Search, which is the where I put the address, instructions, and printing, because you need to print these. Now, if you only can print in black and white, then make sure you either have this or you have, you write the date and that it's pink and, go from there. So that's the area eligibility mapper where you can find out if your site is qualified. This tool is for the rural designation that everybody should use. Do not assume that because you live up in Berlin that you are rural. Yes, you are, but we want everybody to use this map for the addresses. So you can see like some of Concord might be Manchester, Nashua, Rochester, Dover, Portsmouth, but some of these areas, if you put the address in, they may come up that they are in a pocket where they would be rural. So that's why we're recommending that everybody go in and put your addresses in to assure that you're doing metro or rural. So again, this is very important because it's going to depend on open non-congregate feeding. The closed enrolled and the restricted open, and I'm pretty sure it's the restricted open, will not be allowed, as these children will be staying where they are to eat. And the closed enrolled or residential open will not be allowed. Will allow you to send a meal home snack with the child either. This is a mobile route maker. I've used this in the past when I was a sponsor. It's primarily a routing tool, and it overlays on the capacity mapper. It's especially important for less densely populated areas, such as rural areas. The sponsor can identify potential summer sites for mobile feeding by identifying gaps in the service in the neediest areas. Plan the most efficient monitoring routes, and find routes to local food vendors to create fresh local meals. In addition, self-prep central kitchens and vendors can find the best route to deliver their meals to each summer meal site. And then this is the URL, and that's in my resources as well. Okay, is there a way to know which sites are planning to offer summer meals in New Hampshire in advance of May 15th so that we can coordinate to ensure meals are being offered in pink areas? Yes. You will have to get a hold of me, Elise, and we can talk about it, because I do have some areas that already I'd like you to hit. So yes, I can help you with that. All right. This is a capacity builder. This it allows you to visually layers of information such as underserved areas and identify locations for new sites. User can't find the nearest potential community partners such as multifamily housing units, libraries, faith-based institutions, military bases, schools, and more. It also helps you elevate the previous summer's performance, as well as identify areas where there's gaps in summer meal access, and helps identify opportunities for expansion. So if you are interested in expanding, this is a great way to do it. On the left side, I've checked off summer meal sites 2020. And you can see that I checked off multifamily and libraries and congregations, and farmers markets. I then typed in Manchester, New Hampshire, and this is what came up. It's a great tool, especially for the expansions, to make sure all kiddos are having opportunities to get at least one meal per day. So you will see all summer food sites in green circles, kind of hard to see on this. They're not green on your screen, they're red. So the red circles on your screen. The libraries come up in these little purple circles. Congregations are the crosses. And the farmers markets, I am not sure how they come up. I don't know if any of them come up, unless they're the double cross, but they could be. So, but this would be great to see, to say, okay, there's already summer food meals here, but oh my God, look at all these churches. A lot of these churches put on summer programs. Why not let them know that you can give them meals? Especially if you're area eligible. It's a great way to increase the capacity of getting more kids, because these kids might, the ones that you're serving, these might be parks. So while these kids are at the park, other children are, at a church or, libraries. Libraries love to feed kids. We have a lot of libraries that are on the program. I don't think I have any in Manchester or Nashua, but, it's a great way to be able to show and, utilize more than what's there. I mean, you could do, museums, multifamily profit, especially HUDs, private and public school locations, Boys and Girls Club, American Job Centers, YMCAs. So there's just so much that you can do. So here, now if you click on it, so here it's orange, it tells me it's Sweeney Park, it's open. And this is as of 2018, guys. So, and it's on Walker Street. It's in Manchester. Phone number is Southern New Hampshire Services phone number. And at that time, the contact was Henry Harris. And then if I scroll down more, it tells me it's Southern New Hampshire Services, start date, the end date, the time, the days. It was there at 4:15 for supper. This is great for capacity as well. Let me get the mouse back. There we go. And then there's the No Kid Hungry average availability map. This will show you the summer meal sites or daycare homes that are located in an area eligible location based on the USDA Food and Nutrition Services averaging policy. This is if, say you are in an area, you can do what's called a census block group. So in the next slide, I'm gonna show you what I'm talking about. So here, you can put in an address. And so I use 40 Pine Street, Manchester. It showed that it wasn't eligible in the area eligible. However, when you go to the average eligibility, it is. So it shows that the address in blue, so it makes it average eligible. So as you can see, it shows, ineligible, eligible, average, ineligible. So by doing the average of the orange sites around it, made it eligible. So the mapping does it for you. So serving low-income children. First, I have to say the integrity rule has made another update. It's no longer called areas in which poor economic conditions exist. Eligibility determination is based on area data of children eligible for free and reduced price meals, including school area census data. So serve low-income children, sponsors must agree to provide regularly scheduled meal service for children in designated low-income areas, and they must agree to serve in to serve low-income children. Unlike open, restricted open, and closed enroll sites, sponsors of both residential and non-residential camps do not have to establish area eligible. However, they must collect and maintain individual free and reduced price school meals family applications. Camps are reimbursed only for those enrolled children who meet the free and reduced price eligibility. All right, so that's what this is about. Closed and enrolled sites, an identified group of needy children live in a pocket of poverty. Identified low-income children are transported to a congregate meal site located in the area where less than 50% children are eligible. A program provides recreational, cultural, religious, or other types of organization activities for a specific group of children. All children eat free once it is determined that 50% children are income or area eligible, and only allowed to serve 2 meal types. So these are non-residential. Academic summer school programs. Just want to touch base on this as it's not always mentioned. Schools offering academic summer school programs may be reimbursed for serving meals during the summer in 3 ways: through NSLP and and the school breakfast program, through SFSP, or through NSLP seamless summer option. Schools wishing to serve meals only to children enrolled in a summer school program may only receive reimbursement through NSLP or school breakfast program. In addition to serving children enrolled in summer school, the school plans to serve children in the community at large. It may operate an open site through the school, through SFSP or SSO as described below. However, the School Food Authority must assure that these sites are open not only to children enrolled in the summer school, but to any children residing in the area served by the site. Also, please note that we may not allow schools that are providing summer school programs to enroll in the summer school program as a restricted open site instead of an open site. So meals may be served only to summer school participants. This is not the intent of restricted open site option, and it is unauthorized use of this site designation. The purpose of the restriction open site designation in SFSP is to allow sponsors that want to operate an open site to restrict or limit site participation due to reasons of space, security, safety, or control. And this you can find in 7 CFR 225.2. Closed enrolled camps can be reimbursed up to 3 meals type per day. Accountability by student name, and only those that are income eligible can receive the free meals. Civil rights. Civil rights is an important aspect of all child nutrition programs, including summer. Treating all participants equally is a must. In the U.S., there are federal protected classes where people are protected from discriminations in these areas. Race, age, national origin, color, disability, sex, reprisal or retaliation for prior civil rights activities. We do have a civil rights training on our website, and the link is at the bottom of the program there. And not all prohibited bases will apply to programs and employment activities. So civil rights in the New Hampshire state protected classes are sexual orientation, religion, marital status, family status, physical or mental disability, and gender identity. So in addition, these protected classes are in New Hampshire. LEP, limited English proficiency, The New Hampshire Commission for Human Rights offers telephone interpretations of 150 languages for immediately or scheduled intake services of general questions. USDA has an application translation on their website, which is listed on this slide. In the resources I have anything I have on slides, I pretty much have in the resources as well. But I sent most of you the PowerPoint, so you should be able to click on them too. Children with special dietary needs. Revisions have been made to the way we think about special dietary needs, mostly especially with the term substantially limits, points to the word on the screen. Oh, I'm supposed to point to the word on the screen. Can you tell I'm getting tired? The definition of disability is a person with a physical or mental impairment that substantially limits one or more of the major life activities. A person who has a record of an impairment, and a person who is regarded as having an impairment. Then the expanded definition of disability revises substantial limits, which are need not prevent or severely significantly restrict a major life activity, individualized assessment without regard to I can never say this word, ameliorative effects of mitigating measures, and may include an impairment that is episodic or in remission, or if it would substantially limit a major life activity when active. Okay, get to it. All right, so we have a question. Can you please clarify, if we want to provide meals to only students attending a summer program, but we want to send them home as a bag lunch, is it possible? And what would be what would be considered? Well, if you are a site doing a summer program and you're an open site and you're in a rural location, you can, and it's like a 4-hour program, then you can send them home with a bag lunch. Otherwise, if you're a program that's restricted open or closed, enrolled, then the students need to eat there because they are there, whether it's rural or not. I hope that answers. So the only way you can provide meals to students attending a summer program would be if you're an open site. You can't be a closed enrolled and send them home with a bag lunch. They have to eat there. Civil rights, the Justice for All poster. Now, if anybody still has the Justice for All and Justice for All poster that has the Statue of Liberty on that, please email me, let me know how many you need, and we will send you this one that we have with the building. Now, it's going to be updated again. So, but we don't have the new ones yet. So everybody needs to be using the full size poster, which is, I think, 11 by 17. You cannot, I know during COVID, we were able to print out the 8.5 by 11 sheet. We cannot do that anymore. That was only during COVID times. So if you have coolers, you have to make sure, and you can't cut it up. Well, you could cut it up, but you have to make sure that it's all presenting in the front. So where the children or the parents or anybody that is looking at your program can see the whole poster. So if anybody has questions on that, let me know. All right, Brenda, if the address of the daycare is the same as the rec center for the summer, and if it's the one I'm thinking of, then, I mean, the address is the same. If they're in pink, you're okay to serve them. And then Teresa, regarding, they must attend a 4-hour program. I don't know if you're asking me but even if they're just attending a 4-hour program, they cannot go home with a meal. Because you're an enrolled site. It could be a 2-hour program and you want to send them home with breakfast. You can't. It could be an all-day program and you want to send them home. I don't know. But it doesn't matter how many hours they're there. If you are a closed enrolled site, which most of the camps are, you cannot let the kids go home with a meal. Okay. All right. So let's go back. Yeah, so if you need any more posters, let us know. We'll send you out the ones we have, and we'll go from there. So the civil rights requirements, the poster must be in a public location where those that are eating can see it. It may be on a wall outside the kitchen or on a bulletin board, multi-purpose room, coolers, windows, carts, etc. Please do not cut the posters in half and place half on one side of the cooler and the half on the other side. The poster must be displayed in its entirety without being split or folded. And it must be the actual size. So it cannot be the 8.5 by 11 size. Discrimination complaint policy. Food service must either be part of a district's complaint policy or they must have one of their own. Policy must clearly guide the action that must be taken. If someone issues a complaint of the discrimination within the meals program. So when I'm asking you to give me a description, or a copy of your discrimination policy, this is what I'm asking for. I need a policy or a procedure that if someone comes up to somebody at a camp or even a park and they say, I feel discriminated, what does your person do? Do they give them a phone number to call somebody, USDA, or do they give them a phone number to call whoever's in your sponsorship? Or do they give them, the USDA information on the bottom of the poster? Whatever your policy is, please make sure. I mean, if you have a handbook and it has a complaint policy, that's what I'm looking for. You must have some kind of procedure or policy for discriminating if somebody feels that they've been discriminated against. And I mean, how do you make civil rights requirements and information available to the public? It's equal access is for all, regardless of race, age, national origin, color, disability, sex, reprisal, or retaliation for prior civil rights activities. The poster gives people instructions on how to on filing a complaint. Now, if you're using the poster as I need to know that, but I need to, who are you training to make sure that they know to use the poster? So, every sponsor needs to have a written procedure and policy on civil rights, meaning how does the sponsor handle a complaint? So that's going to be, I'm going to probably delve into that a little bit more this year. And it will be part of that management plan you have. So racial ethnic data collection, this has changed. This is really important. There is no longer visualization of race and ethnic. So if an applicant or a parent does not consent to self-identification method, the organization will need to use other racial ethnic data to report this data. Information to complete this requirement can be gathered from area schools or websites. You can go to census, this link that's posted right here. Children are not to be surveyed. So you're not going to ask the child, well, what's your race? Only, this is mainly for like your camps or your ones that are collecting data anyways. That's how you're going to collect your racial. So if you have somebody that's signing up for a program, put a little, space of what race is your child. Schools have to collect it, so, but it cannot be visual anymore. So you're not going to a site and visually saying, okay, there's 15 white, 2 ethnic, 30 black. You're not doing that. That has changed. So, at the bottom of every site application, you are to provide an estimate of the race and ethnic makeup. So on the page, on your site page, on the application, there is an area where you are supposed to tell me the percentages. So, there were 513 youth total, 420 Caucasian, 40 African American, 53 Asian American. That's great. I have one area that they're 100% white. Or 95 white and 5% something else. So whatever you want to use to obtain your data, besides visual, you must put it on the bottom of the site page, and you must keep records of where you obtain this data, as I'll want to see it when I come out for administrative review. Public notification and outreach. The state agency sent out our public release to the union leader statewide. We also sent it out to the New Hampshire unemployment offices. It's always in our newsletter, and we did this all on February 1st of this year. So regarding the program statewide, we're good. However, it's up to each participating sponsor to submit a public news release to the media where you'll be having the summer program. And I think I might change it to public news release instead of media release. There's a sample of the news release on the website, one for open sites and one for closed or campsites. Every sponsor needs to send it out. This is a public release, so it's up to the paper whether they'll publish it. You can also send it to your schools. They usually have a way to get the word out to the parents. Use your local resources to get the word out about feeding children, libraries and, whatever else you guys use. Everything is, a lot of it's technology now. So that would be great to get that out. Reasonable modifications. Modification is a change to the meal pattern. The modification should be something that is reachable by the program. Once presented with a defined modification, no need to go further to establish the truth. SFSP meals and snack must meet the requirements of the SFSP meal patterns. However, modifications to the meal pattern may be necessary to meet the dietary needs of children who qualify as having a disability under any of the federal or state non-discrimination laws. Examples of possible modifications include food restrictions, substitutions, texture changes, such as pureed, ground, or chopped, or thickened, and increased or decreased calories. Modifications to meal service may be also involve ensuring that the facility and personnel are adequate to provide these necessary services. Also, if the modification is gluten-free, it does not mean that the modification must include the purchase of Shire gluten-free bread. It does, however, mean that a suitable replacement should be made, such as rice. If a child has an allergy to apples, then an orange or a plum could be served. You can refer to the USDA memo, CACFP 14, 2017, and SFSP 10-2017, modifications to accommodate disabilities. So some key reasonable considerations that you may want to do is you may want to consider the cost, resources that you have available, and the age of the child. Watch out for stereotype. You don't want to an individual driving the decision. Only facts should be considered, such as I'm allergic to white milk, but I can have chocolate milk. That's a big one, but that's a child saying that. Lifestyle choices such as vegetarian is not considered a disability and need not be accommodated unless it is related to underlying disability. So you're mainly going to see these again in your closed enrolled sites. Most of your open sites don't usually have this issue too much. So we do have a statement form. We do have it online. It's supposed to be the food to avoid, an explanation of how the exposure to the food is affecting the child, and the recommended substitutions. The form is broken down into two sections. Modifications outside the meal pattern needs medical professional signature. Modifications within the meal pattern, such as no apple, any other fruit, can be through the parent. And here is the link that I was talking about. This is a squished up portion of the statement. This has been updated as of 2023. And you can see the top is for the outside the meal pattern, which needs a licensed medical professional signature, and then the meal modification within the meal pattern. And then this is just the, there is a manual out there, accommodating children with disabilities in school meal programs, food and nutrition services. New Hampshire Commodity Foods, wasn't sure if they were going to be on there, so I just put this slide to be able to let you know. It is a great program. I used it many times when I was a sponsor. They're very, very helpful. Anytime you want, just give them a call. Written agreements. When the sponsoring organization signs a permanent agreement with the state agency, they agree to abide by all federal and state regulations regarding the summer food service program. Each year, participating SFSP sponsors must upload a completed application packet to the state agency by specified state agency deadlines, which is May 15th. This year's deadline are on the slide. June 15th for the USDA and May 15th for us. Failure to meet the USDA deadline date will result in the sponsor not being able to participate in SFSP for the current season. Schools are in good resources for outreach for your summer feeding program. Be sure to let them know about the open sites in their attendance area. So not to be serious deficient, what does it mean? To be approved, applicants must not have been declared seriously deficient or terminated from the SFSP program or any other federal child nutrition program in previous years. However, such an applicant may be approved if the state agency determines that they have taken appropriate corrective actions to prevent reoccurrence of the deficiency and has required any outstanding debts. Serious deficiency. The status of an institution that has been determined to be non-compliant in one or more aspects of its operation of the program. Summer meals toolkits. There is a link, this lovely link up here, and it relies on an innovative and collaborative to reach children in need of good nutrition when school is out of session. This toolkit gives state administrative program operations and community partners creative ideas and resources to make the summer meal planning easy, raise awareness, overcome barriers, and serve nutritious food that is appealing to the children. So, getting started, hosting events, first book, intergenerational meals, mobile meal delivery, nutrition education activities, reaching rural areas, school outreach, site recruitment strategies, reaching teens, that's a big one, transportation challenges, reaching tribal youth, reaching unserved areas, tips for targeting growth, and then nutritious meals. They'll talk about congregate meals, family style, leftover, meal pattern. So all of this is in this toolkit. Raising awareness, answer for parents, answer for potential operators, governors, news releases, pitch a story, promoting sites, there's so much that you can be doing to raise awareness for the sponsorship. Where can you find summer feeding sites? You can text food or comida, it's COMIDA, I'm assuming that's Spanish, to 304-304, and it'll come up with last year's sites. And then there's also a USDA site map. It's meals for kids, meals with the number for kids. Now what happens is this mapper gets updated by me, by your applications. So that's why I need to make sure that everything on your application is correct. They only publish the open. However, I have to send them everything because that helps with census for summer food. So UNH Cooperative Extension, this is another area where we do outreach with. They have a New Hampshire food access map, started about 2 years ago, maybe 3 years ago. Usually what I do is I send them all the open sites, and they update their map. But on their map, they have so much more that they're working with. And, they have farm locations. They have New Hampshire farmer markets. So they have, there's so many questions that, you can answer in this slide when you go to it. And you can find other areas where people can access food, such as the adults. Maybe you're doing children and an adult come up and comes, where can I go? Well, maybe you have a form that you can hand them that says, go to this, link, or, have it printed out for them in the area that you're in. So this is just another snippet of the map with a little bit closer. But they have pickup, non-prepared food, pick up any food, delivery any food. So it's a really cool site, and I'm glad that they put it together. Retention of records, short and simple. You must retain your SFSP records for 3 years plus the current year. We are now in fiscal year 23. This means that you'll need to keep your records all the way back to 3 years, 2020, 2019. Sorry for all the sites in your organization, because it's 3 plus the current that you're in. If the sponsoring organization is located in a different state from the operating site, all reviewable documentation must be readily available on site to the state agency and/or USDA agent for announced or unannounced visits. The review schedule. I will have it soon. I have not, I had waiting for one answer from USDA. I just got it the other day. But we will be back to fully normal administrative reviews. Last year, I went and did a lot with the camps. So I don't feel that I'll be doing too many camps, but stay tuned. There's also the Turn Up the Beat Award. It recognizes outstanding summer meal programs, sponsors across the nation who work hard to offer high quality meals to children. The Turn Up the Beat Award was created to showcase sponsors who are going above and beyond to ensure that children in their care are receiving high quality meals that are both nutritious and appetizing. Who's eligible and how do they apply? All summer meal program sponsors in good standing, including summer SFSP sponsors and National School Lunch SSO sponsors, may be eligible for Turn Up the Beat Award. Sponsors may self-nominate or be nominated by another party. Each state agency determines their own deadline for nomination. The nomination must include a complete nomination form and a detailed 1-month menu. FNS evaluates the scores and nominates and notifies the winners in writing. The nomination form is available on the Turn Up the Beat webpage, which is also on this slide. I would love if somebody would self-nominate themselves. And I can help you with filling out the necessary evaluation and paperwork that you need. So nominations must clearly illustrate how the meals are appetizing, appealing, and nutritious. The nomination form must include short answer questions and menu criteria based on the dietary guidelines for Americans. The criteria including serving local foods, a variety of vegetables and fruit, whole grains, and low fat and fat-free milk. For more detailed information on the Turn Up the Beat and the evaluation criteria, check out Turn Up the Beat webpage. And if anybody has any questions, let me know on that. So we purchased these flags last year for our open sites. And there are a few that have already received them. They had a large order. We have more left over, a lot more left over. They're all in my basement. So please let me know how many you would like, as they can disappear. And I would like to get them out of my basins. So these maps literally have two types of stands. You can have it one on the pavement, and it's got like a blow up thing that you can either fill with water and sand, and then the flag fits right into that. Or you can put it, it's got spikes where you can put it right into the ground. So by all means, send me an email. I will get them out to you. I will have to probably deliver them as they, they're pretty big boxes. Well, not that big, but once you open them, they're fine. But yeah, I really want, let me know, even if you want to store them for years to come. That's great. But they're really cool. This picture does not do it justice, but I wanted to let you know it was there. So next, I'm going to have Maddie talk about summer food service program and farm to school, and for a few slides, and then I'll come back. So Maddie, you can take it over.
Thank you, Patty. Yeah. All right, now we're good. We're both in the same room, so we had to figure out the whole volume situation. So good morning, or I guess afternoon, everyone. So as Patty said, my name is Madeline Anastasia, and I'm the Fresh Fruit and Vegetable and NSLP Program Specialist for our office here. And I'm just going to be briefly speaking about why in New Hampshire, the Summer Food Service Program and Farm to School are a perfect match. So in New Hampshire, summer is our primary growing season. So items such as carrots, broccoli, cucumbers, zucchini, salad greens, and tomatoes are readily available as local products. All are great items to include in your summer meals. There are different options for sourcing local foods, and finding the right fit for your program is very important. So we'll be talking about some of the options for procuring local on the next slide. So here are 4 ways to procure local. One or more might be a good fit for your program, or there could be other ways as well. but these are 4 main options for procuring local. Direct from the farm is one great way to procure local. Some farms may be able to offer direct delivery or set up a weekly pickup at their farm. Reach out to farms in your area to see what might be possible. Some farms farther away may even be interested in partnering with you, as you may be on their distribution route. Ask your existing distributor what local products they currently provide. Clearly communicate what your definition of local is. An example would be produce grown in New Hampshire or 20 miles from the meal site. Existing distributors can be a great way to procure local. A farmer's market can be a great fit if you are purchasing a small volume. But as Patty said earlier, be sure to keep your receipts and just have some way of fully documenting your purchases. And lastly, food hubs are popping up more in New Hampshire. Food hubs help distribute product from local farmers. Similarly to working with a distributor, a small purchase model could be used to partner with a food hub. So when purchasing local produce, it will most likely fall between 2 different types of purchasing models, the small purchase model and the micro purchase model. Use the small purchase model if you are comparing prices. You need to compare or receive quotes from a minimum of 2 producers or distributors to have your purchase qualify as a small purchase. An example of this would be if you compare cost of carrots per pound from farmer A and carrots per pound from farmer B, you're already under a small purchase model. Be sure to document your comparisons. However the prices were compared, just be sure to document. Documentation is key. Use the micro purchase model if no cost comparisons are being made. Each transaction is a one-time purchase under your locally determined micro purchase threshold. If you use this model, be sure to document fair and equitable distribution of purchases. This means going around to different farms in the same area and not always back to the same farm. Remember to run the RAND test to make sure the produce is reasonable, allowable, and necessary. The federal small purchase threshold is $250,000 and the federal micro purchase threshold is $10,000. Please refer to your governing body to find out what your thresholds are for small and micro purchases. And here's the link to the USDA Farm to School page. From this link, there is a wealth of resources, and always feel free to reach out to me if you have any questions. And this is the Farm to School has a new name. It's now the Patrick Leahy Farm to School program. So if you see that, it's still the same program. Now I'll send it back over to Patty.
Thank you, Maddie. That was great. So we are almost done, guys. So I'm going to go over some resources. The following pages list the SFSP resources to assist you in having a successful program. Wait a minute. I also should say that my number is here too. So refer to your guidelines as they will help you have a successful program. You know, the monitoring guideline has all the sheets in the back that you need to use for monitoring. The site supervisor's guide, if you have just one site supervisor, then, you know, have them read it, go through it. The nutrition guide, who's planning your menu, have them get some ideas from that. And then there's the administrative guide that kind of goes over everything for the program. Let's see. So we have the eligibility manual for school meals, determining and verifying eligibility. So it's, if you're NSLP, same thing for summer food. The food buying guide for child nutrition programs. They actually have an app on your phone as well. It has a lot of information there, so that will help. And then some additional summer resources is using the USDA Team Nutrition, using the child nutrition recipe box that's in the ICN. A lot of some of the recipes, they're starting to get more summer, but a lot of the CACFP recipes will help as well. And most of those recipes that are in that box will tell you how many ounces it equals, and what if it's a meat alternative, it's what it's going to cover. So, and then these resources for the summer food service program will help to run the program as well. There's a nutrition guide for sponsors, the farm to summer fact sheet, summer meals toolkit. I showed you guys that. The team nutrition resources library has a lot of information that you can use, and they have a lot of summer ideas for open sites as well. So, and then there's the food item and component definitions. And then how do you offer versus serve? Again, that's only for schools. That waiver is done, so everything else is served for everybody else. Offering multiple meals as part of the SFSP non-congregate meal service. Implementation guidance, summer 2023 non-congregate meal service in rural areas. So they do have some resources that have come out regarding what we've been talking about for the guidance of non-congregate meals. And then I have, these are all USDA resources that I've mentioned throughout. So you have the summer toolkit, you have the handbook, how to be a summer meals champion, yay. That would go along with Turn Up the Beat, the meal patterns, the mapping tools, there's some summer meals webinars and videos if you want to watch some more. There's fact sheets that you can print out. You can ask a question, but you might as well just send it to me. Federal register documents, SFSP legislation, the SFSP policy, and the SFSP regulations. Again, I don't know why I have that twice. Good to know. So I have given you guys a lot of information, and I am trying to get my mouse back in here. There it is. So do we have any other questions that you guys want to ask at this point? And if for some reason, if we miss somebody, I'll definitely go back on these questions, and I can let you know. So, so this is the program. Of course, I'm up here. We have an NSLP lead. That one's vacant as of right now. Ruth Howard does NSLP, and she sends out most of our And Justice for All posters. Tam Feener does NSLP, and she is our food service management person. And then Maddie, again, you've met her. She's our fresh fruit and vegetable and NSLP. And then Kelly Rambo. She's our Bureau of Student Wellness and Nutrition Administrator. She was our Office of Nutrition Programs and Services Administrator, but she has moved up and she does wellness as well. At this time, we have two positions, the NSLP and the administrator. However, we are waiting for our budget to be approved, so it probably won't be till July till we hire somebody. But if anybody's interested, you can always go to the state website and see if that comes up. And if you have any questions, concerns, by all means, give me a call, shoot me emails. Summer's coming up. I'm still doing CACFP, so there may be times I'm out on the road, but I do try to check my email because otherwise I get too far behind. And I look forward to seeing all the good things you guys are going to do this year for the children and for our program in New Hampshire. And thank you. Have a good rest of your day.